What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking out Francis Ngannou versus Renan Ferreira. That just took place over this past weekend in the PFL, and we're going to be discussing this fight and potential next options for Ngannou going into the future. Anyways, let's get into the video. So, it's easy to clown on him now, but Renan Ferreira on paper was the best option for this Francis fight. He was on a 4-fight win streak. He's a big, tall guy who is also really athletic, and he's Brazilian too. But his massive flaw got exposed again. So, Francis did take a safer approach. I was hoping to see these two heavyweights throw down in the middle of the cage and see somebody get knocked out. But essentially, the fight breakdown was pretty simple. It's pretty simple. Ferreira and Ngannou start off in the middle of the cage, and Ferreira is looking for a right cross, a right counter over Francis's jab early. They're both pretty far away from each other, though, and they're mainly just exchanging leg kicks. But eventually, Ngannou got to him and took him down. And although Francis was the smaller fighter, which was definitely noted in the weigh-ins because he came in pretty light in this fight, 256 pounds compared to Ferreira, 261, I believe. But the point is that as soon as they locked up, Francis ragdolled him. So even though on paper Francis was the smaller guy, it didn't look like it as soon as they locked up with each other. And once Francis took him down, Ferreira attempted a triangle attempt, but I do feel like the commentary overreacted. It wasn't really like cinched in or being close to cinched in at all. And Francis kind of just worked his way out of it, started ground and pounding Ferreira, whereas then he turned giving up his back, and Ngannou just started smashing him with ground strikes over and over again. Actually, too many. The ref should have stopped it earlier, but he just wanted to see this guy die, I guess. So Francis just kept hitting him, and then Ferreira went out limp. So the question is, what is next for Ngannou? Well, it is too bad that there's really no names outside the UFC that jump out as great opponents. I really wish we could see either a Tom Aspinall fight or a John Jones fight, but those are just unrealistic options, and it's just not the way that the UFC does business or conducts business at all. I'll tell you what, though, that is an interesting hypothetical matchup, both of those opponents. Who do you guys think would win? Leave in the comments who is the best out of all three of them. Personally, I think if Francis fought Aspinall, I would favor Aspinall in that fight. But I do think Francis could beat John Jones, which is actually kind of funny because John Jones is, on paper, the current UFC heavyweight champion, and I think he's the worst out of all of those three heavyweights. Well, I mean, the worst is a bad way to put it because Jones, on paper, is the greatest fighter of all time, but I just think right now, out of the three current heavyweight world champions we have in MMA right now, I think Jones would lose to both Aspinall and Ngannou, in my opinion. The best option we currently have, this is realistically, is the 2024 PFL heavyweight season winner. They have a regular season, so I would say the winner of that heavyweight tournament would be the best option for Francis in his next fight. I would say a realistic turnaround would be maybe March of next year. You could make a card. You could do another card in Saudi Arabia, or you could do it either in Africa, in the United States, wherever. The point is, we're going to need to stack this card as well. So you would have Ngannou in the main event against this other heavyweight, and then I think a good co-main event would be Paul Hughes versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Paul Hughes just actually scored a massive upset win against A.J. McKee, which was crazy. And he nearly knocked him out at the end of the first round. So good on him. And I think Hughes versus Nurmagomedov is a great fight. I also saw a clip of Hughes saying that he wants Conor McGregor in his corner, which would add just another layer of intensity and fun to this matchup, making things a lot more interesting for the fans. So we have Francis in the main event, Nurmagomedov Hughes in the co-main event, and I believe you should throw one more world title fight on this card. Make that either a Johnny Eblen fight. There's no challengers that really come to mind, in my opinion, for Johnny Eblen at the moment. There's also options like Chris Cyborg, Patchy Mix, who I love to watch fight. I'd love to see a Patchy Mix fight on this card. Or you could get Vadim Nemkov on this card, since he hasn't even fought since February of this year, so he's been out for a while. But those are the options, in my opinion, that we have. I'll tell you what, the more I think about it, actually, the PFL with a star like Ngannou should capitalize on that. I think they should either go to the MGM or T-Mobile Arena in Vegas and maybe do it on the same weekend the UFC is doing an Apex card and compete with the UFC. If they put on a stacked card and marketed it right, they could have a very successful event on their hands. Anyways, those are pretty much all of my thoughts that I have on the fight that just took place, on Francis's next potential opponents, and as well as the directions that the PFL can go. I believe they have the tools to create a pretty successful business and to, make a lot of money behind Francis and behind some of the other potential stars they have, but they have to make the right moves, and we'll see if they do. Anyways, guys, that is all for today's video. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, and I'll be uploading more videos shortly. Anyways, I'll see you next time, guys. Take care.